How we all getting along today? It's a nice, crisp 13 degrees out, so not fit to do anything outside. So I'm taking this time to play with this little motor I got here. This is a Maytag Model 72. Put a new coil in her. I got a question. Why do people collect stuff and watch these videos and what have you? Is it for the technical aspects of it, or is it about the story behind them? I think it's both for me, but we'll do the tech side first and then we'll tell the story. So, this old motor lost spark. I've had this motor for many years. This is the first motor I ever bought. Gave $5 for it. Finally broke down, decided to put a new coil in her. Reached out to Flywheel Supply. There's their contact info if you ever had any dealings with them. Really nice people, very knowledgeable. I've bought quite a few parts off of them over the years, and they do a fine job. So, purchased their coil kit. They recommend the kit. That way the coil's warranted. That way the plugs, the condenser, all that good stuff all matches. It's got a set of Autolite non-resistor 216 plugs. The condenser I had in here, I know it was not the right one because I stole it out of a GM V8 points distributor back in the day just to get this thing running. Coil I got really nicely made. Take it off. You just got to take out the two screws, turn her loose. It does have a little tab in here, and in my factory coil, that tab was covered up. That's what holds that coil on, so I had to pick a little bit of the old shellac off of it to get that tab to turn loose. Put her on, but one of the things they said to do was before you button her up and crank it over is to put it on and turn it over by hand. Highly recommended, and glad I did because the clearances were different. So you don't want to tear up your new coil. You can kind of see where the little scuff marks are. I had colored the insides of the fins and the flywheel with a magic marker down inside there. And I ended up having to take a die grinder and take a little bit off each one of them fins. So I think it's a combination of the coil being a little bit larger diameter and maybe a little bit of wear on the mating surface there where she buttons up against the cam. But if I hadn't done that, she would have chewed that coil up probably in no time. Another thing they recommend is using solderless connectors on the plug wires. This kit did come with plug wires, and I don't know why I never thought of that before. Much better connection. Got them fit up in there. Regapped the points when I got all said and done. Point gap's 20 thousandths. Plug gap is less than what the factory. They said gap the plugs at 25 thousandths. We're going to give it a try. Said this coil's pretty hot and, wouldn't have any trouble creating spark, and there's no use overworking the coil with a larger point gap than you need. Makes sense to me. I've always kind of liked this motor. I love the square nut there holding the flywheel on. That's the only one of them I've got with a square nut. And I don't know whether that was original or not, or whether somebody just picked that up out of their box of parts and stuck it on there. So the story behind this motor, my grandfather took care of an old hermit. This old hermit was named John Reynolds. And he lived out in the woods in a big old 2-story house that the driveway had long since grown up. Didn't have a running vehicle, no electricity, no running water. The old boy heated with wood, cooked with wood, used coal oil lamps to light his house with. Just a character, And this was big. This was up into the 90s. He was living this way. Very few people still do, but he had adapted. Grandpa would take him his grocery order once a month. He had a standing order, just basically dry goods, cat food, that kind of stuff, powdered milk. When Grandpa passed away, I took over hauling the old boy's groceries, and over time, kind of built up a friendship with him, and he got showing me some of his things, and he had some pretty neat stuff. One of them was this motor. This was sitting out in one of his sheds there. It was locked up. Gave him $5 for it. Probably way less than it was worth, but I let him set the price, and it took quite a bit of work tearing it completely down and getting the rings unstuck and all that kind of good stuff. But that old boy, like I said, I just can't say what a character he was. I finally got to where he was going to let me hunt on his place, and he had probably 150 acres of the gnarliest woods you ever seen. Nobody had been back in there in years. So the first time I went out there to go deer hunting, I always knew that he heated with wood and cooked with wood. I just never knew how he got the stuff. And I knew he didn't own a chainsaw. So he had made him a skid, and he would fell the trees, never cut anything over about 6-inch diameter. He would fell the trees with an axe, chop it into logs, put it on that skid, and had made himself a harness, and he would pull that stuff up to the house. And then each morning before daylight, he would go out with a bow saw and saw that up into lengths that would fit in his 2 stoves. He had a big old depot stove in the living room, and then had a really nice looking wood cook stove in the kitchen. But I remember walking down the path, him being out there with that hurricane lantern sitting there on the wood pile, and him just sawing away. That's probably why he lived as long as he did. I could probably live by his example and lose a few pounds, and probably learn to live a little bit longer. Well, I'm going to get out of here and button this thing up. Got any questions or comments? And, kind of let me know why you watch these videos. Is it about the stories, or is it about the tech side? You all have a great day and a better tomorrow. Give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe. I never thought I'd hit over 300 subscribers. This is getting to be pretty cool. Hell, I may get me a goal of becoming a social media influencer. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. Y'all have a good one.